phone mode.
Welcome to this morning's helpline session with your host, James McDonald.
Well, thank you very much, Andrea. And I'd like to start by welcoming our participants, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of you in Toronto, by the way. We're doing our super conference this upcoming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and yeah, we're going to have a great event. And I know a lot of you are registered to come to the Platinum Millionaire Makers Seminar at the same time as the main seminar is being held. So that'll be great. Make sure you come and say hi. We'll all be there. Now, this morning, of course, is our open forum helpline. So we can talk about anything you like. You can post your questions in the chat. If you have a working mic, we can take your questions that way. And again, anything you want to discuss, whether it's lead generation, lead conversion, etc. On Friday, Todd and Craig did a helpline session and looked at some ads, but particularly Jim Buttrell. Had Jim Buttrell on there, one of our outstanding Titanium members, in fact, which is our elite group of Platinum students. And I wanted to, in reviewing the webinar from Friday, I just wanted to really make sure that everybody understood, as it pertains to direct mail, what you want to be doing is starting your direct mail campaign with non-branded. So in other words, you can graduate to doing a mix of both branded and unbranded, but if you are thinking about embarking on a direct mail campaign, if you're thinking, I've never done direct mail with Craig's system, I want to start with a direct mail campaign, the question you want to ask yourself is, are you doing it specifically to lead generate? And if you are, then you should do what Craig did, which is focus on a non-branded postcard offering an online home evaluation and being sure to specify the area that you're sending the postcard to. So if you were targeting an area called Newmarket, then it would say, find out what your Newmarket home is worth online. And it would be non-branded with no photograph of a realtor. Now, once you've established that lead generation system for direct mail, then we can begin to mix into that some branded messages, which is what we looked at on the ad clinic for Jim Buttrell on Friday. But you would not start by sending out a direct mail campaign like that focuses on USP, simply because it isn't going to generate as many leads, just pure leads, as the non-branded postcard campaign will. So the idea is you want to start with the non-branded and then add to it some of the branded direct mail stuff. And you know, I say this because that's what Craig did. So do what Craig did, follow the system, and you'll get the results of the model. Now here's something else that I wanted to share with all of you, okay, to do with lead generation, by the way. And so Andrea, by the way, is showing you here some of the postcards options, but you can see they focus on the message, and that's really what you want to do. The one under seller postcards, directly below seller postcards, find out what your home is worth online, that's your go-to right there. I mean, that is a lead generator. If I'm remotely considering selling and I read find out what your home is worth online, that gets put on the kitchen counter. They go to your domain name. Use a domain name that describes the area and an evaluation of some kind, and it's a lead generator. Pure and simple, it generates leads. Very consistently and predictably. Target the areas of high activity. The neighborhoods use every door direct, so it's 17 cents a piece, and that way you won't have to spend a fortune in order to generate some really meaningful seller leads doing it. Okay, so that was one thing that I wanted to make sure that for those of you that haven't yet embarked on a direct mail campaign but are considering doing it, do that. Now here's something else that kind of bugs me a bit. Every time we get an editorial style ad, overwhelmingly, the results of the editorial ad are very favorable. It's amazing how, and Andrea can attest to this, we've been doing these webinars for years and years and years and years, and when someone does an editorial ad, it's highly likely, 99% certainty, that they will report lead generation from the editorial style ads. So why more of you aren't doing editorial ads is sort of curious. So I was looking at my own local newspaper here that arrived, I guess it was yesterday or the day before. It's called the Seaside Courier. So I've included a copy right here for everyone to take a look at. This is the front cover. of the Seaside Courier, and you can see that it's pretty typical. It's a very typical local newspaper. This is what you need to be looking for in your area. You know, sometimes, I'll tell you what, when this is delivered on a Tuesday, and Tuesday's the day we put out the recycling, I just put it straight into the recycling bin. It doesn't even get opened. I rarely read it. I do sometimes, but most of the time it just goes straight into the recycling bin. I don't read it at all. But that is exactly the kind of local paper that you're looking for. See, we're not suggesting that everybody reads the local paper. You don't need everybody. You only need some. But the truth is, some people in the thousands are reading your local newspaper every day. So, and here's the great thing is that this newspaper probably comes out, you know, like a couple times a month, you know, maybe once or twice a week. I don't even know how frequently. I certainly know it's obviously not daily, but the benefit to that is there's some shelf life with this. Okay, now here's my point. I get this local newspaper, and I know that we've got students right here in the marketplace. Jim Buttrell is in our marketplace, and we're looking at his branded USP direct mail postcard, and I'm flipping through this local newspaper, looking at the community news, but I'm also looking, because I wanted to see out of curiosity, if anyone is using this publication to run an editorial style ad. Or for that matter, any kind of ads, any kind of lead generation in this publication at all. And I came across something that was really, really interesting that I can't believe hasn't been taken advantage of. Okay, so Andrea, I don't know if you could turn the ad sideways, the second page that I sent you.
Give me 1 second. Let me see what I could do.
I had to turn it sideways to do it. Okay, now maybe the problem with this is that because there is no classified in the section, that maybe realtors look at it and say, well, you can't advertise here because there is no classified section. That means it's perfect. It's absolutely ideal for editorial style ads. Okay, now I'm looking through here, and the newspaper already has paid editorial style ads that are already part of the newspaper. They call it their business spotlight. And anybody can run an ad as an article in the newspaper. In other words, the newspaper already offered this. So I want to show you what this would look like, because you all need to research your local newspapers, and you need to be running an editorial style ad in those local newspapers. And I just want to show you, they're so cooperative in doing this. They already have a section in this particular local paper for companies that want to run newsworthy articles in the newspaper. All right, so that's one side of it. We're looking for the other side. Andrea.
I'm so sorry. Let me do the other side.
It's okay. See the other side there?
Is it this one with the 5%?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I did the second one. Not that I would have done the third one. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah. All right. So try to turn that sideways, and I want to show everybody what this looks like. This is a hell of an opportunity. I can't believe that you've got a carpet business running an editorial ad there, and a credit union running an article there. You can take this space. The newspaper already sell the space. There's a phone number right in the article. All right, so well, we kind of got it. All right, there we go. All right, so if we can make that bigger, and so we can see it, it's called Business Spotlight. Okay, so the newspaper has this section called Business Spotlight. And if you look at this, that's perfect, Andrea, thank you. The very first one under Business Spotlight says, America's finest carpet now open in Cardiff by the Sea. So there's a headline. By the way, the headline perfectly matches the headlines in the newspaper. That's because the newspaper wrote it. So talk about cooperative. This looks like an article. Now, you don't need to include a photograph. They included a photograph. Big mistake. I wouldn't have done that. But if you're going to run under Business Spotlight, it's going to say, you know, avoid these costly mistakes when selling your Cardiff home. Right? That's what it would say. So if this is focusing on Cardiff, it would say Cardiff home sellers are making these 9 critical mistakes. And look how cooperative the newspaper is. They're running articles in the newspaper. This one at the top is for America's finest carpet, now open in Cardiff by the Sea. There's a phone number in there in this article. The one below it says California Coast Credit Union marks 1-year anniversary in Encinitas, right? The newspaper is hungry for the business of local small businesses. They want those marketing dollars. They've bent over so far backwards that they're not even waiting for you to suggest an editorial ad. They've already got a section designated called Business Spotlight for editorial style ads. When I saw this, I was just, I'm gonna get on the phone with some of our local students here today, and I'm going to really suggest that they run an editorial ad here, because I want to prove to all of you that if you were to take up a spot like this and you were to run an effective editorial style ad, you're going to generate a dozen or more leads from sellers running in a publication just like this one. And then when that happens, everybody will look at that isn't currently running editorial ads, and they'll say, I got to get on this right away. You are generating every week a pipeline of sellers, either who are ready to act in the next 30 days, most of whom though are going to be doing something within the next 3 to 6 months. You're filling up your pipeline for 3 to 6 months from now. Like you're planting seeds. It's like a bunch of post-dated checks. See, the benefit of the leads that come from these editorial ads is that you're the only realtor that knows these sellers are selling. If you're getting these sellers early in the process, because they're responding to the editorial ad, they weren't actively looking for real estate information. So here's what that means. The majority of these sellers are raising their hands and they're saying, yeah, you know what, we're going to be selling our home, but you're the only realtor that we've told that to. No other realtor has any idea, because we're pretty early. We're probably not going to do anything until 6 months from now, or 3 months from now, or 9 months from now. But either way, you're the only realtor in the entire marketplace. You're the only realtor that knows that we're going to be making a move. You have a gold plan follow-up system. You stick them on the gold plan follow-up system. You call them back in half the time that they indicate. Here's what happens. What you've done is you now have the opportunity to establish yourself as their agent before any other realtor even has a clue that they're thinking about making a move. You've sent them market information. You send them information about helping with their move. You've called them and not pressured them to do anything, but rather provided them with information. Area home sales report. Follow up with an area home sales report before every follow-up phone call, right? What happens is this. 6 months, 9 months from now, when they're ready to list their home for sale, they don't need to go through the discomfort of interviewing a bunch of realtors, because they have one. They already have an agent. I've been working with them for 9 months, and that agent is you. You've been the provider of information. You haven't pressured them in any way. All you've done is provide them with information. And at the same time, you've set yourself apart by dripping on them unique selling propositions, services that you offer, performance guarantees, all of that. So these editorial ads are an absolute must. And here's the thing. All of you are doing the Craig Proctor coaching program. It's the Craig Proctor system. Now, from December of 1994, when I first met Craig, from that point forward, I know every single thing that he ever did to generate even one measly lead. I know where every single one of those hundreds and hundreds of deals every year came from. And I'm telling you that editorial ads played a huge role in that from the very beginning all the way through, and they never wavered. Never. Even as the internet became more and more popular as a way to gather news and information, the leads generated from the editorial style ads never waned throughout that. Never, ever waned. And more importantly, it never did with our students that are doing it as well. So I don't mean to badger you about running editorial style ads, but I'm badgering you to run editorial ads in your local newspaper. It really is a no-brainer. And before we go looking at branded postcards that share your USP statistics and guaranteeing home sales and all of this, there will be a place for that, but we've got to have the foundation of the system in place. The foundation is lead generation, and lead generation is going to primarily come from the less branded approaches. Less branded editorial ads are a huge part of that of that lead generation platform. And when we look around in these local newspapers at the opportunity to run editorial ads, it's really just poking us right in the eye. So hopefully we'll see some of those in our upcoming ad clinic sessions. And as I said, I'm going to get someone locally here to run an ad in this publication, right in this business spotlight section. Okay, Andrea. Having said that, let's do this. Remember, this is the helpline session. We can discuss anything you like at all. It doesn't have to be lead generation, but it certainly can be. But anything you'd like to discuss, we can. And you can post your question in the chat, or if you have a working mic, we can do it that way. So, Andrea, take it away.
Yes, sir. We have a question typed in from Ira. He says, in the FSBO's editorial ad generator, there's a section or selection that says required IDs. Is this mandatory to put in the bottom of the ad?
I think that everywhere it's mandatory to include a disclaimer. Now, what needs to be included is up for debate. So in other words, in California, you have to disclose your license number, but not the name of the brokerage. Whereas in Toronto, where Craig is, he had to disclose not his license, but the name of the brokerage. Not his name, the name of the brokerage must be included in the ad. So there are different, there's different information that must be disclosed. So here's the deal. Whatever information in your marketplace must be disclosed in any real estate ad that you're running must be disclosed. It has to be. So there is no reason why it would adversely affect the response of any ad simply following the rules and regulations and disclosing who the ad is coming from. Here's why. This is why we call it less branded. It's not that we're not saying who the ad is coming from. It's that we're allowing the prospect to focus on the information as opposed to focusing on the salesperson or company. If their focus is on the salesperson or company, then they feel like they're being sold, and they're more reluctant to read the information. If instead the focus is entirely on the information and the benefit to them, they're far more likely to look at that than the disclaimer at the bottom. So we want to be in accordance. We don't want to do anything that we're not supposed to do, but at the same time, we must understand the difference between self-promotion and disclosure. Self-promotion means putting yourself front and center and making it about you and what you offer, but the focus is on the salesperson, as opposed to less branded, which we're putting the information front and center, and we're really downplaying who the information is coming from, because we know that the prospect cares a lot more about what's in it for them than they do about the salesperson that's offering the what's in it for them, right? So I hope that answers your question, Ira.
Okay, Ernest asks, I have a question related to the GSP. I have heard some members require an FHA appraisal be done on the property prior to guaranteeing the sale price. Would adding a home inspection be a reasonable requirement to also implement?
If you want to, remember, I'll tell you how Craig would answer this. It's your program. You make up the rules, and you do not want to make a mistake. That's really critical, is you do not want to make a mistake. So you can guarantee any property that you want to. And I got to tell you that, really, at the end of the day, you're the one that has to be comfortable with the guaranteed sales price of the property. Right? Remember this, when you're giving them a guarantee, if you're going to use a guaranteed sale program, what you're doing is you're giving them an offer to purchase. The guaranteed sale program is an offer to purchase. You are offering to purchase their property, and you are telling them what price you're going to offer them for their property. So since it's your offer, you better be damn careful in the offer that you're making, because otherwise you could get into big trouble. So being careful about the price of the property. But here's, really, if you want to look at this, if you need to do all of these things, appraisals and inspections and all of this stuff, what it tells me is that you're not really confident in the price of the property. Now, remember this. Craig reserved the right to guarantee any property that he wanted to. Now, in our marketplace and up in York region, just outside of Toronto, The overwhelming majority of the properties were subdivision or are subdivision type properties. In other words, it's very easy to gauge the likely sales price of the property because there were so many properties just like it that have sold. As opposed to an area where the properties are maybe a little more eclectic, where maybe there are different properties built at different times in older neighborhoods, where establishing market value on a property is much more difficult, and the properties themselves are so unique that they appeal to a much smaller variety of buyers. When you get into that kind of situation and you're guaranteeing a property, you're taking a big risk. Craig would feel very comfortable about putting a guarantee on a property in Glenway Estates or in College Manor, because you know within $100 what the property is going to sell for. So establishing market value and then basing a guaranteed sale amount based on market value is much less risky. Whereas we don't know if that's true in your marketplace. And the red flag comes up when you say things like, well, maybe we get an appraisal, maybe it's telling us you're not really confident about the sales price of that property. And if you're not, that's pretty dangerous. Maybe that's a property that you would be better not to guarantee. Now, does that mean that the guaranteed sale program does not apply to that particular client? Of course it applies. You're going to put a sign right on their property that says, move up to this home and I'll guarantee the sale of yours. Everybody benefits from the guaranteed sale program. It means that any seller that you're working with that gets an offer that is conditional on the sale of their home, you can remove that condition by guaranteeing their property will sell. If you don't sell it, you'll buy it. Is it foolproof? No, but understand the way you must position this offer is that no other agent in the marketplace is offering any guarantee at all. So any guarantee you make is better and more than any of your competitors would be offering. It is learning how to articulate that so the prospect comes to that conclusion. That is the power of the guaranteed sale program. So, boy, that's a mouthful, but great question and some things to really think about and consider there for you.
Okay, our next question, it comes from Mike, and he also raised his hand, so I'll go ahead and open Mike's mic. Go ahead, Mike.
How's it going,
Mike, your mic is open.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you, Mike?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Hey, I'm wanting to get some seller property business cards going for my listings to try and get more listings from my listings.
Yep.
Is there somewhere on the site, or can I get an example of what one of these should look like?
Yeah, I know certainly that that Todd has some great examples of business cards that we could share with you. So I'm not sure. Are you a coaching member, or are you in the Platinum program?
Yeah, no, I'm in Platinum.
Okay. Well, I definitely know that Todd has some great examples, so shoot him an email and he'll direct you where on the website you can find these. But here's the bottom line with this. On your business card, you must promote your USP as much as yourself. So this is something that's really overlooked in the cookie cutter business card, is that a business card is given to somebody that you've probably met. So we have an opportunity to set ourselves apart. If they're going to keep this, then it's going to have our picture on it. It's going to have our name on it. It's going to have all of our contact information. But why is it that we cannot have front and center, almost like a headline, a reason why we are different and better than the other seemingly identical business cards? You need to have, and the best USP to have is a performance guarantee. So whatever the strongest performance guarantee that you offer to sellers, that if I pick up your business card, the very first thing my eye should be drawn to is that performance guarantee for sellers. That wouldn't be a perfect business card. Does it have all your contact details? Of course it does. Does it have your name, your picture? Yes, it has all those things. But it also has front and center a reason why I should consider you above and beyond the competitors whose business cards, of course, have no reason to do business with them on it.
Cool.
All right, so I'm sorry that I can't. I guess here's one example, but I know for sure Todd's probably got hundreds, if certainly dozens of examples of really good business cards that follow that format. But it is no more complicated than it sounds. All right, Andrea, who's next?
Our next guest is Maria Galitos. Your mic is now open. Unmute on your end. Okay, we'll go on to Sandy Casella. Your mic is now open. Sandy? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the chat. Again, we have Thomas saying, how many times do I follow up with people who have responded to my ads but don't respond to voice message or email inquiries? They simply don't answer the phone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously that's you're not going to get nearly everybody answering the phone. If you are eventually speaking to 75% of the leads that you generate that give phone numbers, understand you're doing as well as can be expected. So let me just repeat that. If you are eventually reaching 75% of the leads that you generate that give phone numbers, I'm not talking about the leads that say Mickey Mouse 555 5555. That's not a lead. You cannot. Nobody could reach that lead. So I'm talking about when a prospect gives you enough information that you have a working telephone number, whether that means you looked up their name and address in a directory, whether it means they included a working phone number. But if you just take the prospects that actually gave you a phone number that works, you will reach at most upwards of 75%-ish. And if you're reaching that number and you can't get beyond it, understand that's probably the ceiling. Okay, now to more specifically answer your question, of course we're not going to reach everybody. There'll be a quarter of the prospects that no matter how hard and diligent you are, you'll never reach them. But that doesn't mean that there aren't things that we can do to reach that number. I've spoken to some of our students that say, oh God, I reach like 10%. Well, that's all. I like to hear that. Here's why. It means that without generating any more leads, you could double your business. You could quadruple your business without generating a single more lead if you could just reach more of the leads that you're already generating. So here's how we're going to do that. Okay, number one, if you're reaching a very low number, then you got to recognize, first of all, whatever you're doing right now isn't working. So if you're leaving messages, that ain't working. No one's calling you back. Not working. You'd be better calling people and not leaving a message. You probably get more people calling you back not leaving a message than leaving a message. How many times do you call the prospect back? It depends on how many leads you're generating. The more leads you generate, the fewer times you're going to be able to call each lead back. The fewer leads you're generating, the more times you'll be able to call them back. If you generate one lead a day, you could call that one lead every day for 2 months, right? But if you were generating 10 leads a day, well, obviously you'd get backlogged and you wouldn't be able to call them more than, maybe 4 or 5 times before the new leads would take priority over the older leads that you're trying to reach. Not only that, but the more leads you generate, you're obviously going to cherry pick the easy ones. If I have 10 leads and 5 of them are going to answer the phone the first or second time I try them, and the others are going to answer the phone after 30 times, screw it. I'm not looking to make this difficult. I'm looking to make this easy. So I'll work with the low-hanging fruit. So whatever you're doing right now, if you're reaching a low level, you got to stop doing that. Don't leave messages if you're leaving messages now, because clearly that's not working. Why don't you try this as well? What phone number are you calling them from? What shows up on the caller ID? See, I think caller ID dictates who answers the phone more than any other single variable. Right? More than any other single variable, what dictates whether people answer the phone is the caller ID. If the caller ID is a local telephone number, they're far more likely to answer it. If it's an 888 number, if it's blocked, if it's zeros, if it says Remax Omega Realty, the likeliness of them answering the phone is greatly reduced. If they get a call from a local phone number, okay, so in my area, the area code is 760. Okay, so my phone rings and it says 760 on it. It's a local number. Well, the only person that would be calling me locally would be somebody I know, right? It'd be somebody that I know locally, right? So I'm much more inclined. Does that mean I will answer the phone? No, I'm not saying that necessarily, but I will say this. What I'm thinking is this isn't a telemarketer. It's a local person calling me. It's somebody that I know. Maybe it's one of my kids' friends. Maybe it's the kid's school call. I don't know, but it's a local number. It's not a salesperson bothering me about something. All right, so that really does matter. Now watch this. I get a call and it's a local number, right? It says 760 area code. I'm like, oh, that's my area code. But I say, oh, I'll let it go to voicemail. But they don't leave a voicemail. The same number calls back 3 minutes later. Am I curious enough that I might answer the call? Here's me. Answer, yes. I know me. I answer the phone. Like, to anyone who's trying to reach me out there, if you follow this, you will. I mean, it works, right? If you get a phone call that doesn't look like a telemarketer, it's a local phone number, and the phone rings, and I look down, and I decide, oh, I'm not going to answer this right now. I'll see who it is when it goes to voicemail. They do not leave a voicemail message. 5 minutes later, the phone rings again, same number. The odds of me answering the call on the second time that same number calls me again, the odds are very, very, very good that I answer that phone. So, I'll tell you what, I will pit that against leaving a voicemail message the first time. I will pit those two against each other anytime, and I'll tell you, the second approach will absolutely generate more phone conversations than leaving a message every single time. So there are all kinds of things that we can do. You definitely need to be diligent in following up with the leads. I mean, ultimately, you don't want to give up on any, but here's the rule of thumb. The new leads take priority over the old leads. If you've got someone you followed up with 8 times and 3 brand new leads come in, and you're going to make, you've got 15 minutes to make some follow-up calls, you're not going to start with the prospect you've already tried 8 times. You're going to start with the brand new leads, the ones that have come in most recently, and work your way backwards from there. That's how it works. So if I was sitting down and making some calls because I had 15 minutes to make some calls, I start with the most recent lead and I work my way backwards. If that means I don't get to the lead that I've already tried 8 times, I'm okay with that. The newer the lead, the priority is there. Okay, so there's some food for thought. Great question.
Okay, we have Sandy would like us to try again. So Sandy, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Sandy. Yes, I can. How are you?
How are you?
Excellent.
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Great.
I have a question for you about. I have a question for you in regards to unbranded postcards. So I was sending unbranded postcards out, and then I pointed out they weren't probably what wasn't working was my landing page because it wasn't optimized or it wasn't fixed, I guess, by Success website. So I changed it to a bold leads landing page, and I got leads. I got 5 leads from it, which was fine. So now my question is, I want to switch it back to the bold leads, to the Success website landing page. But there's some other changes that I want to make too. Do I just make the one change, just change the landing page first and see how that works, and then make the other changes one at a time that I want to make?
Well, I mean, it depends. If there's a difference between a test and a mistake, right? If there's a mistake in the ad, then obviously that you want to fix that. Or if there's something we know will make the ad better, then we want to fix. That's different from testing one approach versus another approach. So here's my suggestion. First of all, when you're sending out the postcards, you want to make sure that you're including in the offer the name of the area you're sending them to. All right. Now it could be broad, but there should be a name in there. It'll work way better if there's a name in there. And same is true with the domain name. So whatever the domain name is in the call to action, it's really good if the name of your area is in the domain name. All right. So that's something, regardless, I would have. In other words, that's not a test. That's just going to work better. The testing has been done. The jury is back in session. We already know the result. When you are generic in offering information, it's never as good as when you are specific. So the difference between saying, find out what your home is worth online and find out what your Brampton home is worth online, no comparison. If I live in Brampton and it says find out what your Brampton home is worth online, www.bramptonhomevalues.com, that will kill the response for versus generically offering find out what your home is worth online. So that's one thing we know we can do. But as far as the landing pages go, you know, if the bold leads landing page is working, I'm not sure why you would want to switch, why you would want to change it. What is your motivation to do that?
I don't know, to be honest with you, just because I've always used the Success website page. So I switched it over to the bold leads because it was going to take them a while to get my Success website site optimized again. So I guess just in case I don't keep bold leads.
I mean, I don't know if it's possible to do this, but it'd be really great if you could. What we'd love to do is a split run. Okay, so here's what that means. When you send out the postcards, you send them out absolutely identical to one another. Only one group of postcards goes to the Success landing page and the other group goes to the bold leads landing page. It's head to head.
Right.
The variables are identical. And then it's cut and dry. And you know what is remarkable? There will be a winner. And very likely the winner will be obvious. And, you know, I hate to say it, but I'll tell you right now who I think the winner is going to be.
Okay.
It's already working. We already have a head start on the answer to that. See, because you're assuming, and not unjustifiably so, you're thinking that the reason why you didn't generate leads from the old Success page that you had is because it wasn't optimized to work on a smartphone. So when it is, that'll change everything. But what if we find out that that's not true? What if we find out that the reason that bold leads works better is because of the simplicity of that their system isn't designed to be optimized for a smartphone. Their system is designed to be used with a smartphone, right? Do you see the difference? It's not optimized, oh, we've got to make this in case people are doing it on their smartphone. With bold leads, understand this. They don't need to optimize it just in case somebody's doing it on their smartphone. It's designed knowing that everybody is using their smartphone. So they're so much more ahead. And that's why, very simply, it says, you know, this is step 1 of 3, your address, right? Start this process. And it works. See, here's the thing with bold leads. These guys don't know how to convert a lead. They don't know how to sell any real estate. But what they do know how to do is generate a lead from a smartphone. That's what they know how to do. So they're sitting there in Silicon Valley, and all they focus on is, we are going to use Facebook or pay-per-click, and we are going to figure out how to get prospective home sellers to raise their hand and ask for this information. And we're going to be really, really good at that. And you know what they figured out? How to do it. What they never figured out, though, is how to get those prospects that are interested in information to convert into an appointment, into a contract, into a sale, because they've never done that before. That's where we come in. So, you know, I am one of the bigger advocates in our company for bold leads and for Commissions Inc. and for you know, a bunch of others as well. There are a whole lot of really good web lead generation companies that do a really, really great job, and bold leads is one of them. So I won't be surprised at all when you do a head-to-head test that the bold leads, at the end of the day, it generates more leads. Now, that doesn't mean you need to abandon the Success page, but when it comes to the offer for the evaluation, man, I'll tell you, bold leads works. Sorry, Sandy,
okay, so no, if I want, so okay, the things I wanted to change were my domain name, because my domain name is mymisshomevalue.com. So I'm in Mississauga. Just because Mississauga is such a long word, I've tried to keep it shorter, but I don't know that I don't know that I should I just not.
I don't mind that domain
broken?
name. I like that domain name. I think everybody in Mississauga understands when it says Miss that it refers to Mississauga. I mean, even I would know that, and I don't live in Mississauga.
Okay. Well, that answers my question then. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck, and make sure that you tell us what happened and post up your results.
We'll go on
All right,
to
Andrea.
some
Sorry.
more. That's okay. We have some more chat. Sherry asks, Craig mentioned a service that we can use to record our phone calls, and she's wanting to know the name of that service. I do not, but I've heard him talk about it, but I think it's something Adrian may be coming up with.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, I know, there are a bunch of apps that you can get on your smartphone. But you know what I found with them is that it's really cumbersome. Now, having said that, I mean, there's one called Record a Call. If you go to the App Store and look, just put in Record a Call, you'll find a whole bunch of apps, a lot of which are, a lot of them are free. And all you do is you tap the app, you dial the number from the app, and it records the call. Here's the thing, though. We're not suggesting you record every one of your calls, but I think it would be really instructional for you if let's say once a week, you recorded 3 or 4 follow-up calls. That's it. Once a week, record 3 or 4 follow-up calls, maybe every Monday kind of thing, or every Thursday after the role play session or something like that. And I think that if you did it once a week and archive them, you'd see progress. You could go back and you could listen to yourself a month ago or so, and you could say, geez, I've really improved. I mean, it's night and day difference. My confidence and my expertise using this script, I mean, there's no question about it. The service that Craig is referring to, you dial a number first, then you dial the number you're looking for. And I mean, it works, but it's a freaking nightmare. Anyway, we'll find out what that is, Andrea, the next time Craig's on.
We will. Okay, Carol is asking, I'm using the 100% guarantee, or we will pay the difference. Where can I find the certificate for that?
Well, let's go to the certificate generator. And let's see, where is 100%? Your home sold 100 days, buy it. 60 days or 1,060 days free. Seller cancellation, buyer cancellation, VIP buyer guarantee certificate. Where do we have the 100% of asking price? Is that not on one of these certificates, 100% of asking price? Would it be under something different?
See, Craig and I have run into this before. Some of the guarantee certificates are not up yet. We're still working on that. I have a couple. Carol, I'm going to look in my email and I'm going to see if I have the one you need, and if I do, I'll forward it to you. If I don't, I'll let you know, and then you can contact your coach, who I know will have one. Okay.
So let me just offer you a suggestion about that USP. Okay. So the USP is your home sold at your price guaranteed, or I'll pay you the difference. Here's the biggest condition. Well, there are two huge conditions. Condition 1, buyer and seller must mutually agree on listed price of the property. All right, so there you go. You must agree on listed price, mutually agree based on market value. If they want to list their property $50,000 overpriced, then the guarantee is null and void, obviously. So pricing the property really is everything, as it is with virtually every single one of the guarantees. Market value and list price are the big condition. If the property is not underpriced or overpriced, but rather priced at market value, you'll offer any guarantee, because the property is going to sell, it's going to sell quickly, and it's going to sell for market value. Okay, now here's the other condition with that guarantee, though, that will make you feel much safer and more comfortable. Here we go. The difference, remember you said, or I will pay you the difference. 100% of your price, or I'll pay you the difference. Okay, here's the clause. The difference cannot exceed your portion of the commission. Okay, let me repeat that. The difference cannot exceed your portion of the commission. So if the market tanked and something catastrophic were to occur, and the property were to sell way below market value, okay, because that was just the reality of what was happening. The market was in free fall or something ridiculous. Okay, unforeseen were to happen like that. Okay, the property would sell, and maybe it would sell for far less than market value. Okay, now this isn't going to happen. We've got safety valves in place to ensure that. But what if it did? Here's the deal. You would only be responsible for your portion of the commission to give back to the seller. Okay. The cooperating broker would still get paid a commission, because you said my portion of the commission, not all the commission. The difference cannot exceed your portion of the commission. Whatever you would make, not your broker, so you're on a split with your broker, let's say. Does your broker still get their split? Yes, they still get paid. Does the cooperating broker that brought the buyer, did they still get paid their commission? Yes. Who's the only person that doesn't get their commission? You. But the difference cannot exceed your portion of the commission. Now, here's what this essentially means. The worst case scenario is exactly the same as the property expiring. That is, if the property were to expire off the market, or the seller were to take the property off the market, that outcome would be identical to the worst case scenario with that guarantee, which is you worked for free. No money came out of your pocket, but you worked for free. That is the worst case scenario. So somebody says, well, what if this $200,000 home, the market tanked, and all of a sudden it was worth $150,000? If they chose to sell it at $150,000, you would give up your portion of the commission, not a dime more. The cooperating broker would still get paid their commission. Your broker would still get paid their commission. You would have worked for free. That's the worst case scenario. That's it. That is the risk that you're taking, which is, by the way, identical as the seller calling you and saying, we've decided to take our home off the market. Identical outcome. You're not getting paid anything. So it's a pretty safe guarantee to make. If they do not want to list their property at a mutually agreed upon market value price, then the guarantee is null and void. You do not offer the guarantee. So that's what the certificate is going to say. Remember, the power of the guarantee is in how you articulate the benefit and point out that all of your guarantees are offered because other realtors do not offer any performance guarantee at all. The reason that you offer performance guarantees is because you recognized in the marketplace that all the realtors running around out there were not willing to put their money where their mouth is. They weren't confident enough in their performance to make any kind of guarantees at all. And I recognize that. That's why I'm making this guarantee. Hey guys, this is a total side note, but it just came to mind and I wanted to share it with you. So I was watching the news this morning, and they were talking about Donald Trump running for president. And Donald Trump said something that struck me as being an awesome USP. Okay, so this isn't about Donald Trump being the president or anything like that. It's about USP. And he said something, and right away I'm like, that is probably about the best unique selling proposition I've ever heard. And it was this: I will not accept any amount of money from anybody to do anything that they want because I don't need their money. And I mean, I just take that on the face value of a unique selling proposition. Here's the question. Unique selling proposition answers the question, why should I choose to do business with you above all other options, including doing nothing or whatever I'm doing now? That's the definition of USP. Why should I choose you? What makes you different? Why you instead of somebody else? Because there is no amount of money you can give me that will get me to do what you want. Your money means nothing to me. I will not take it. Nobody else can say that. And I kind of thought, I don't know particularly who agrees or doesn't agree with him, but tell you what, that's called a USP. I mean, that is pure and simple. That is a unique selling proposition if I've ever heard one. Anyway, I don't know why I decided to share that with you, but I did. So there you go. You can all use that now. All right. Next question, Andrea.
And just so everyone knows, the Your Home Sold.
You like that USP, Andrea, by the way?
Yes.
Pretty good, huh?
I think so. Yeah.
All right.
We have, the certificate that you're looking at now, the Your Home Sold for 100% of the asking price. In case anybody wants a copy of this, it is in the handouts of your webinar control panel. So if you look at your webinar control panel, you can download the certificate you're looking at now from the webinar. Okay.
There you go. Good job, Andrea. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jazz asks, is there an email that you send out to a prospect once you have signed them up as your client, buyer or seller?
Well, obviously you're putting them on your daily email, so they're not just getting an email from you. Every time a property comes on the market that matches exactly what they're looking for, they're receiving an email from you. One of the things that you want to gauge is this, okay, if we're talking about a buyer, is the timing of the buyer. Now remember this, the benefit of the buyer system is that we can bring a buyer in, even though they're not planning on buying something today, they still benefit by being a VIP buyer. So I want everybody to think about that. If I'm looking around at properties because I plan on buying something in October, well, we're sitting here in the middle of August, I plan on buying something in October, but I'm not going to buy anything until October. However, I am looking around. You know, I'm looking around. I looked at some open houses. I called off some ads. That's how you got me in the first place. You know, you bring me in and I sign a 6-month or 12-month buyer agreement with you that says I'm under no obligation to buy anything and I'll never pay you any money. And I'm like, awesome, you're going to send me all the properties. You know, if I want to see something else, okay, you can't then turn around and say to that buyer a week later, why haven't you bought anything? You know, that's why we signed a 6-month or 12-month buyer agreement, is because we know what their timing is. We know that their timing, for whatever reason, was October or November or next year, whatever it is. That's why we got them to sign a 6 months. So we have to understand at that appointment, what is their real timing? And here's why I'm suggesting this, is because the frequency at which we follow up with that prospect and what we do with that prospect is going to be based on their own individual timing. If they say, well, we're looking around right now, then you're going to set an appointment with them at that first meeting to go and look at properties. You're going to set up an appointment to go and look at properties. You're going to set up showings because they're planning on buying right now. They're looking now. But for the buyer that says, we're definitely not going to be putting in any offers, we're not going to be buying anything until at least October, we're just looking around, we'd like to know what properties are. You take them to your buyer presentation. This in no way obligates you to buy anything ever, let alone now. You'll never pay me whether you buy or not, and I am your I'm your legal representative in looking for, finding, negotiating on your behalf, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so they sign the buyer agreement. Now you can send them properties as they come on the market. You can schedule in your contact management system a phone call. Never, ever will 90 days go by without you talking to them. It should be sooner than that, but that's the maximum, 90 days. Never, ever would 90 days ever go by without you having a conversation with that buyer. Even if they said, look, we're definitely not going to be looking at or buying anything until probably February. Still, you'd never let 90 days elapse without talking to them. So I guess the long and short of it is, what we want to be sure of is that you accurately determine their timing and you work with them appropriately according to their timing. All right, but as far as, are they getting an email? Yeah, they're getting emails every day. Every time a property comes on the market, it matches what they're looking for, they're getting an email of that property from you. All right, let's take another one here, Andrea, before we wrap it up for this morning.
Okay, Steven says, is there a template to create business cards on the coaching website? Which printing company would you recommend?
I'd recommend a local printing company, and no, there's no template. So, you know, the bottom line is just follow the formula. And the formula is this. We're going to have our business card like any other business card. The difference is this. We're going to have a headline on our business card. On the front and the back, we're going to have a headline. And the headline of the business card is going to be your unique selling proposition. That's what differentiates your card from all of the others. Okay, it's got all your contact details, it's got your name, it's got your picture, they'll remember where they met you. The difference is we're not going to keep it a secret that we offer a tremendous advantage to do business with us. And every other business card that they've ever collected, if they've gone to open houses or what have you, none of them have a reason to do business with that agent. Ours does. All right, so I know there are examples, but as far as the a template like that you can use, I don't believe there is, at least not yet. That would be easy to do, though, I would think, Andrea. For Adrian, that is. It'd be very difficult for me.
Right, agreed. I wouldn't be able to do it either. But Adrian, I know we've been asking him, you know, how can we get this implemented? So we're working on it. I know cool. Craig says, too, for business cards, that you can just go to the USP generator if that's what you're going to have. It's a really good example, and that's what some of our Platinum members have been doing.
Right. Okay. Okay, Andrea, any quick chat questions that I can answer before we sign off for this morning?
No, we covered them all. A few of our members haven't been unable to find, the handouts. So I have emailed them individually. So check your email if you've asked for the certificate we showed earlier, and it's probably in there now.
That's great. Great. Thank you so much for doing that, Andrea. Okay, well, hey, that's great. Some really good questions here today. We'll look forward for a couple things. First of all, those of you that are coming to Toronto, and there are quite a few that are coming up to Toronto, obviously the local realtors that are in the program from Greater Toronto Area, Montreal, Ottawa, etc., that's a no-brainer that you'll be there. But we also have a whole bunch of our students from the East Coast all the way down as far as Florida that are coming up to Toronto for the Platinum Millionaire Maker program. It'll be unbelievable. So kudos to you for doing that. Make sure you come and say hi to me, and we're really looking forward to it. Starting this Friday, and of course, next month is our Anaheim deal, which will be huge. I mean, that's our flagship event. The September Anaheim event at the Hyatt is going to be absolutely phenomenal. So we're really looking forward to that. And thanks so much for your help as well, Andrea. Anyone, if you have any questions that pop up, shoot us an email, and we'll take care of your questions sooner rather than later. So thanks for that, Andrea, and have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Please check the coaching site for your schedule this week. We have lots of webinars going on. We'll talk to you all soon.